And welcome back, guys. Thank you guys for tuning back in to another chapter in Book of Random. I am Keoni.
I'm Lindsey.
And today we are going to touch on a touchy subject that is probably going to piss off some of my liberal friends, even though I am definitely way more liberal and progressive than I am conservative. However, there's one topic that I definitely swing more right on, which is why I consider myself an independent to begin with. And that is the Second Amendment. If you can see her tank top, it says defend the second, and that means the Second Amendment. And if you guys don't know, that is the right to bear arms and basically defend yourself. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the Second Amendment, well, it's the right to keep and bear arms, if I'm being verbatim. But what a lot of people don't know about the Second Amendment is that it does not just mean to defend yourself against an intruder in your house or someone that means to do you harm. It also means to defend yourself against tyranny, against enemies, foreign and domestic. So that means at times it could potentially be your own government. Don't put me on any watch lists, please, government. But that was why it was created. And we are Second Amendment advocates. At least we are believers in the Second Amendment. I am not the kind of guy to shoulder my rifle and march down to the Capitol building. That's not me. But I do believe that it is our right to be able to defend ourselves. And just to throw this on its head, I know a lot of people are like, well, you don't need those guns because what is that going to do if you have to fight your own government? They're just going to drop bombs and tanks. And let me just squash that argument right quick. And the reason I'm going to squash it is because if a government is going to take over its own people, if it's going to enslave its own people, and the only way it can do that is to take away their ability to fight back. Now, in this instance, they're not going to be bombing their cities and streets. The whole point of it is for them to have a class of people for them to rule over, not to decimate them. All right, so that combined with, if you look at the Mujahideen and guerrilla tactics, guerrilla warfare, Afghanistan, Iraq, Middle East, they've been battling us with those type of small guerrilla tactics with small arms and not these big, drones and tanks, all these kinds of stuff. And it's a very effective strategy. I mean, that's what, really stifled our superb military during Vietnam, was that we weren't ready for that type of guerrilla warfare. So, yeah, that's my answer to that. So my question for you, my love, because I keep talking, is what is it like for you, and what is the Second Amendment for you, and what is it like being with someone that is vocally pro-second?
That's a good one. I don't actually pay too much attention to the actual meaning of defend the second, but I guess I would say I am supportive of his views, and I don't think that in any way it's harmful. It's not something that I'm against, and while I'm not out there promoting or talking or educating myself a ton on guns, as he is more well educated, I do believe we have the right to protect ourselves, and to that's what I
All right,
feel like.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's wifey material. You see that? She supports me, regardless. I love it. Love you. All right. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around it, and people. I know how it is. Like the whole atmosphere is very politicized, and it's very trigger worthy, and by that I mean trigger words. Buzzwords that get people. Spinning off the rails, and they just hate something for the principle behind it, or just the idea of it. They hate it and they don't seek to understand it, which is also why I am more progressive or liberal, is because I believe that applies to when conservatives talk about gay people or people of a different culture or ethnicity. So I believe everyone should be heard and treated with respect equally across the board, regardless of their differences, and whatever they call God, or what have you. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand on that. Again, we're pro gun people, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take away from the loss of life that happens when a bad person has a gun and does terrible things. That is a terrible thing that we need to address, but I also recognize that it is a huge problem, not just guns, right? The gun is a tool. There's a lot of people that are killed with hammers and knives, but no one seems to be going after them. People in countries that guns aren't allowed, they take cars and they mow down huge crowds of people, terrorists and whatnot. And in these instances, you don't hear for them trying to stop the production of cars or sale of cars. Now, I've heard every single counter argument to the pro-gun thing, and I'm not trying to sound like some crazy gun guy, because there are some nuts out there. But I just want people to educate yourselves on it and understand that it's always good to have and not need than need and not have. And I would hate myself if I ever put us or our daughter in a situation, or our family for that matter, where we had the ability to protect ourselves, right? We could have had the ability to protect ourselves and we chose not to, and something happened. So I would rather have than not. I have a concealed carry permit. When we go to the States, I carry a firearm with me, and it is what it is. So that's kind of my stance on it. If you guys want to talk about it more, reach out to us, message us, comment, like, subscribe, share, whatever. But I'm totally open to having this conversation, and a conversation, not some hate bashing thing, because that seems to be the new trend now. When someone has a different opinion than you, it's just hate bash, hate bash, hate bash, which I don't appreciate. So, do you have any further thoughts, my love?
No.
So today's fun fact, we're going to go following the Second Amendment and following guns. We're going to go into a common misconception people have about firearms, and that's going to be our fun fact today. Now, this is the infamous AR-15 rifle. It is not loaded, just so you guys know, but that's the one. And the big common misconception is people think that AR-15 means assault rifle, and that is not true. It does not mean assault rifle, it means Armalite rifle, and Armalite was a company that created this particular platform in the 50s, and they named it AR-15. Another thing is, AR-15 is not an assault rifle. I'm not just talking about the name, I'm talking about the classification. An assault rifle is a fully automatic weapon. This is not a fully automatic weapon. It is a semi-automatic weapon, and just so you guys know and understand what that means, every time the super far left talk about stripping everyone of their weapons and their ability to defend themselves, a semi-automatic weapon simply means that you have to pull the trigger per shot. A full automatic weapon means that you have to pull the trigger once and it keeps shooting. So there's a difference. Basically, in a fully automatic weapon, the cyclic rate is faster. So you can get out more rounds by just holding the trigger down. Now, on a semi-automatic weapon, you have to pull the trigger per shot. And what classifies as a semi-automatic weapon is basically all guns. This is a semi-automatic pistol. And the same thing, it's unloaded, but you pull the trigger once per shot. That's semi-automatic. The next step behind semi-automatic is like a revolver. And that's not semi-automatic because it doesn't automatically feed per se. Well, I guess it would. Anyway, yeah. So when people, when they talk about, okay, let's just get rid of all semi-automatic weapons, that's basically every single gun, including hunting rifles. That's basically all of them, except for like single shot, bolt actions, stuff like that. So yeah. So basically, sorry. My point is that when they talk about semi-automatic rifles and they get you scared and thinking that they're these terrible like weapons of war meant to murder thousands of people, they're basically talking about every single gun. And they want you to not realize that they're talking about stripping basically the entire Second Amendment, because basically every gun falls under that semi-automatic classification. And it's very interesting when they're writing laws how they can put some broad name over it, and then it can be interpreted as basically everything. So they think they're just banning this one type of thing, it's only one little thing, but really everything falls under that classification. So this is why people fight so hard for the rights. I know a lot of you guys, you know, are very into politics nowadays. I know I definitely am. And this is no different than your right to a free speech or any other right that you have laid out by the Constitution. So I ask you guys to open your minds to the opportunity or to the information and not just shoot it down simply because it's political on political lines. And if you're on the left, you have to shoot, you know, no pun intended, you have to vote against guns and all this kind of stuff simply because that's what it is. So sorry for going on the rant. There's a lot of information to it. I know that I can kind of just keep talking. So anyway, love you guys. Do you have anything else you want to say, my love?
No.
Doesn't she look beautiful today? Oh my god. Ooh la la. Anyhow, okay. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Love each other. Take care of each other. And peace. Peace. Alpha. Keoni is alpha.
Alpha.
Everyone knows that. So please.
No, leave it down
wait,
there.
No,
leave
yeah,
it down there.
leave it here. And
Lindsey is alpha.